I'm not gonna lie, I just got a message from the battery supplier and he was like, hey, do you need an additional metal casing as shown in the picture? I didn't even know this was an option. And the fact that I just spent so much money and it's like, oh, the casing will be extra $30. I'm just like, oh fuck, I'll just pay it. But it really leaves a bad taste in my mouth just because I had to pay an extra $30 for the casing that was never offered as an option. So I don't know, this battery better be worth it, because seriously, the other battery that was only selling for $1,000 or something is looking a lot like a better option right now, because yeah, better be good. Rise and shine, another day, another job to do. So today I'll be installing a Toyota 2009 head unit. She wanted to upgrade her head unit to an Android unit with a reverse camera, so it shouldn't be all too hard, but the hardest thing I think will be installing the reverse camera and removing the trims. So we've got the 2010 Corolla with the standard factory head unit, and we're going to be removing this and replacing it with a new head unit, Android head unit, and most of it should all be the same. So the first things first is popping off the plastics, both of these plastics, and they should be relatively quite easy if you can just wedge something in there. Let me find a tool. So the easiest way to get these trims off is if you have any of these plastic removal tools, just because they don't damage the plastics. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wedge it in here, and once it's lifted, pull forward, and it should come off just like that. And we'll do that on both sides. So as you can tell, I'm doing it with one hand. As you can tell, I'm doing it with one hand, and it's not all that complicated. And now we'll expose the bolts that you need to get rid of for removing the unit. Alright, so for the top unit area, you can just pull this back, pulling it towards you, and it should just pop straight out. Really good if you want to just upgrade this to the ones with the clock mechanism, but if not, then you just leave it up there just so we can have more access to the things that we need. That took me, all up, took me probably less than a minute. So once we remove those 4 bolts that appear on the sides, they should be silver and a 10mm. There is a trim that has to be removed, so you can just pull on that towards you again, and then that should come off as so. And then from that point, the head unit is free. So you pull that out, and that's pretty much most of it, all done. So with most Android units that you buy online, anything car specific should have its own wiring loom, so it should be relatively just a plug and play. Plug it out, replace it, plug it in. That's what we're going for. So we'll find any problems along the way, but let me just remove this out of the car. So this is something you should see in the package for most online Android units for car specific models, and this will plug directly into those looms. Not all the plugs will be used, but you should be able to connect all of them, all the required ones, to whatever is needed. So this loom will have components for top of the range cars, so if you don't have it, then most likely you won't be using all of these cables. In the package you'll see a unit with most likely a metal pin that connects into the unit. This is your this is your GPS for your navigation system, your aftermarket navigation systems. I usually just throw it back behind there, and it hasn't affected the signal from my experience. So find a spot where you'd like to mount this and just make sure it can receive as much data as possible. Also, a good habit is to test it before you put everything back, just to make sure things are working as they should. Alright, just so you guys know that I didn't forget, most of the time these brackets do not fit from the factory unit to the aftermarket unit because the size difference is massive in comparison. With most of these units, you probably have to remove the OEM, the factory bracket, so we'll take that apart and we'll add it onto the head unit. So when installing the brackets, you'll notice that the top hole doesn't really fit. Always mount it from the bottom upwards, and that way you should get enough clearance of putting it back in, and test it with the fascia. So we're going to drill out the top hole just to make sure we can securely mount it, just because it's not big enough. Here's a photo of how it should look, and then the fascia would sit directly on top. I'm going to install the camera now, so just to give you an idea, if you don't have to install the camera, most of everything goes back in just the way it was. So when installing a reverse camera, I always like to work from the back to make sure I have enough cable. So what we'll do is we'll remove this plastic removal trim tools that we've got. We'll remove this off and we'll find the best place to mount the camera. I am thinking the best spot for me would be if I could fit it in between there. That would be great. Otherwise I'll just mount it onto the sides here. So let's have a look. So we managed to get it off. Just remember, when removing these trims, if you're feeling like it's about to break, just pull a little bit harder and it should pop off. So what we'll do is we'll run the wiring all the way up here, and we'll get it to come out of here, and we'll tie it away as neat as possible for the customer. So if you're going for a seamless type of approach, this is how much you have to cut. So I notched it here so I can get the cable through, and I ran it all the way through. So, and that's quite a very snug fit, and this should be the cleanest install for this car. Alright, so make sure you line it all up completely. Camera is sitting right there, so it's all nicely, and we're going to just push it in, clip it in. That's one, and that's two. And this is how the camera will sit. So the worst thing I hate about most of these kits are the RCA cable is never, the video input cable is never long enough. So I've ran it all the way here, and this is how much I left. I'm probably short a meter at most. So, and I have to buy another cable which is like 6 meters. So it's really annoying that I have to do that, but oh well, I have to do the same for my van. Look what I got in the mail today. I got the lights for the bike, so we'll install this with its new tail light eventually. But today, sadly, because of Melbourne's weather, I can't move everything I want and use this space properly because it's raining and things will get wet. So I'm just trying to do what I can. Today I managed to get most of the crawler done, minus that issue with the short video cable. So I've ordered that. That should come in soon. I've received the everything I need for the CBR, so that should be next on my agenda. Another thing is I also received something today. Hold on. So sprocket on port. Sprocket is here. So the sprocket is on, but look at the angle. It looks like it's too close. I wonder if I can add a spacer onto that. What do you guys think? Add a spacer, pull it out a little bit. I'm gonna have to. Let's see if I have a spacer big enough. So this is the angle. I've just test fitted the chain. I haven't got enough clearance. Okay, I was not expecting this for the gear. I was hoping that it'd fix all, it'd be able to put everything in perspective, but it doesn't clear. It's just, there's no way that it can clear unless I sit the motor upright like this and then change the mounts. I can change the mounts, that's no dramas, but that's kind of stupid, right? Am I not seeing something? Maybe I should ask my friend whether or not we can change the mount from one side or the other, because I plan to run the other gearing roughly here, somewhere in that line a little bit, but I made some room, kinda. Like I said, I've got another project coming in tomorrow. Not my project, it's just a side thing I'm doing, trying to help people out that are reaching out to me. So we're gonna do that tomorrow. So all the main projects are on hold. Alright, you know what? Let's do it. Let's problem solve out of this rather than just trying to get new parts. Yeah, let's do that. Since we're going to be welding the frame anyway, and the more I talk about it, the more I'm getting pretty confident with my welding. I'm going to cut that side plate off. Cut this side off, I've already drilled the holes, and then mount it at the bottom. And then I'll lift it, and that way it should all be good. If this is all one piece, that'd be ideal, strength wise. But what's the point of getting you guys to follow me if I'm not gonna problem solve the crap out of this? Let's do that. That'll be coming up. I'll definitely cut it tomorrow and we'll line it up, maybe tack it. I need to research galvanize, because I'm pretty sure it's like poisonous or something to weld in a closed environment. So I'll figure that out. And you guys know how I feel about PPE, so safety first, guys. Safety first. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I've emailed the supplier to say what the heck is going on with this gear, and hopefully they'll get back to me with an answer before I start chopping this up. Fun times. Alright, didn't really get much done today. Didn't really get much done today, but it's pretty good to have a short video every now and then.